My stunning fiancée told me I was out of her league while she was secretly carrying on an affair with her personal trainer in his apartment every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. You should be grateful someone like me settled for average, Qley said, scrolling through her Instagram DMs from other guys while wearing the $8,000 engagement ring I'd bought her. This was 8 months before our February wedding. 8 months before I was supposed to commit my life to someone who thought I should thank her for choosing me. The cruel irony? While Qley was lecturing me about how beneath her I was, my high school crush, Veronica Chen, now a professional model with Vogue shoots and 1 million Instagram followers, was sliding into my DMs asking why I'd never believed I was worth pursuing. So I hired a private investigator for $150 a day and got unquestionable proof. 47 photos over 10 days of Qley sneaking in and out of her trainer's place. Then I posted one Instagram close friend story with Veronica, and it pulled 15,000 views in 6 hours. Qley went from calling me average to blowing up block numbers, begging to talk the moment she realized what she'd actually thrown away. Because here's what I learned about leagues. Sometimes the person telling you you're not good enough is the one who can't handle the truth. And sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling, it's letting everyone see the upgrade. Sometimes being out of someone's league works both ways. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs from day one. But when you're a software engineer making decent money and you're reasonably good looking, not stunning, just decent, and a woman who looks like she stepped off a magazine cover shows interest in you, logic tends to take a back seat. Qley and I had been together for 3 years. I was 28, she was 26. I built apps for a tech startup downtown. She was an Instagram influencer with 12,000 followers, promoting skincare products and fitness supplements. On paper, we looked like a modern success story, but Qley never saw it that way. Everything was a scoreboard. Every room had winners and losers. Every relationship had someone who was out of someone's league. She'd post photos of us with captions like "lucky girl," while making sure I understood how lucky I was supposed to feel. At dinner, she'd point out the waiter staring at her. At parties, she'd casually mention the guys in her DMs. "I could be with anyone," she'd say during arguments, smiling. "You know I'm out of your league, right?" Her exes became mythology. The investment banker who flew her to Paris, the ripped personal trainer, the photographer who almost launched her career. According to Qley, they were all heartbroken that she chose me. The $8,000 ring should have been my first real clue. 1-carat solitaire. She posted it everywhere and then asked if I'd had it appraised. "I just want to be sure it's actually worth what you paid," she said. Some jewelers scam desperate guys. Planning the February wedding became another performance. The venue had to look expensive. The dress had to break the internet. She started a wedding Instagram account and obsessed over the follower count. Meanwhile, I was picking up overtime to pay for everything, and she kept reminding me how replaceable I was. And every time I questioned it, she'd laugh and say, "Relax, you're lucky I chose you." I didn't realize yet that someone who keeps telling you you're out of their league is usually shopping for someone else. The changes started in October, 3 months after we got engaged. Subtle at first, then impossible to ignore. Qley joined a new gym across town. Not the convenient one 2 blocks from our apartment, but a boutique place that required a 40-minute drive. She said she was working with a personal trainer named Qley just to get in shape for the wedding photos. Her phone, which used to sit casually on counters, suddenly lived in her hand, always face down. When I walked into a room, she'd flip it over. When I asked who she was texting, she'd sigh like I was exhausting. "Can't you see I'm busy?" Then came the late nights, brand meetings, networking, weeknights until 11. She'd come home showered, smelling like expensive soap we didn't own. When I asked about it, she smiled and called me insecure. "You're being paranoid," she said, "and it's not attractive." The breaking point came on a Friday night in November. I'd worked 12 hours and just wanted to stay in. Instead, she was getting dressed to go out. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Cody's having a little gathering for his clients." At 9 p.m., "It's about networking," she said. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." Something changed in her face. The sweetness dropped. "You're paranoid because you know the truth," she said. "You're lucky someone out of my league gave you a chance." The words landed harder than anything she'd ever said to me. After she left, I stood alone in our apartment, staring at the door. I kept replaying the last few weeks. The phone, the late nights, the smell of soap that wasn't ours, the way she never let me see her screen anymore. For the first time, I didn't feel jealous. I felt certain. That was the moment I stopped asking her questions and started planning how to get unquestionable proof. And that was when everything began to shift. That weekend, instead of confronting Qley or demanding to see her phone, I did something that surprised even me. I started researching private investigators. I'd never hired a PI before. I didn't even know how much it cost or what they actually did beyond what I'd seen in movies. But I knew one thing: if I was going to accuse my fiancée of cheating, I needed more than suspicions and circumstantial evidence. I needed proof that couldn't be argued with, explained away, or turned back on me as jealousy. Thompson Investigations had good reviews and a professional website. No drama, no promises about catching cheaters, just straightforward documentation services. I called Monday morning during my lunch break. I decided to get unquestionable proof instead of accusations. Rick Thompson had 15 years of experience and the kind of calm, matter-of-fact voice that made hiring a private investigator sound as normal as calling a plumber. He explained the process like he was discussing oil changes. Standard surveillance package is 10 days for $1,500. That's $150 per day. We document locations, times, activities, and interactions. Photos and video when possible, detailed written reports for everything. What if you don't find anything? I asked. Then you get peace of mind and proof that your concerns were unfounded. Either way, you'll know for certain. He asked me about Qley's schedule. The gym sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the late-night networking events that never seemed to have specific locations, her new habit of being unreachable for hours at a time. We'll start with the gym, Rick said. Follow her routine, document her actual activities versus what she tells you she's doing. Most people who are hiding something stick to patterns. Rick explained that surveillance would include tracking her route to and from the gym, documenting how long she actually spent inside versus how long she claimed to be working out, and noting any additional stops or meetings. He'd also monitor those evening networking events, where she actually went, who she met with, how long she stayed. How often do you actually find what people are looking for? There was a pause. Most people don't hire me unless they already know, deep down, what I'm going to find. Rick said most people don't want to know what he finds. The next 10 days were surreal. I went to work, came home, had dinner with Qley, and pretended everything was normal while knowing that someone was watching her every move. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning, tell me she loved me, and head off to her trainer sessions while I wondered what Rick's cameras were documenting. Every text notification on my phone made me jump. Rick had said he'd send daily updates if there was anything significant to report. No news meant routine activities. News meant I probably didn't want to hear it. Qley seemed more relaxed than she'd been in weeks. Happier, more affectionate. She even suggested we start looking at wedding venues again, something she'd been putting off since October. I think I was just stressed about the planning, she said, curled up next to me on the couch. But we're good, right? We're solid? Of course, I said, watching her scroll through venue photos while texting someone else. The irony wasn't lost on me. The closer my private investigator got to the truth, the more loving Qley became, like she could sense something shifting and was trying to secure her position. She showed me wedding venue photos while texting someone else. Soon, that screen would become unquestionable proof. On Thursday morning of the second week, Rick called. "We need to meet," he said. "I have your report." His tone told me everything I needed to know before I even saw the photos. We met at a coffee shop downtown that afternoon. Rick arrived with a manila envelope thick enough to contain a novel. He didn't bother with small talk. "Your fiancé has been visiting the same apartment complex every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 10 days, he said, sliding the envelope across the table. "Building's called Riverside Gardens, apartment 2B. It's not the gym." The first photo showed Qley's car in a parking lot I didn't recognize. The second showed her walking up to a door marked 2B. The third showed her being let in by a man who was definitely Cody, just not in the way she'd been describing. Rick had 47 photos total, timestamps on every single one. Qley arriving at 2:47 p.m. on Tuesday, leaving at 4:23 p.m., back again. Thursday at 3:15 p.m. Different outfits, same routine, same apartment, same man answering the door in workout clothes that never seemed to get used for working out. There were photos of them on his balcony sharing a drink. Photos of them kissing by his door. Photos of her leaving his place wearing different clothes than she'd worn going in. Every image was a piece of unquestionable proof. Based on her comfort level with the routine, Rick said when I asked how long this had been going on. I'd say months, this isn't new. People don't get that relaxed unless they've been doing it a long time. The photos showed she'd been lying about everything for months. Not just about where she was going, not just about who she was with, but about who she really was. I was still staring at the evidence when my phone buzzed. A direct message from someone I hadn't thought about in years. Veronica Chen. Marcus, I can't believe I found you on here. I just moved back to town for work and saw your profile through mutual friends. Crazy question, but do you remember me from Jefferson High? We had AP English together senior year. Of course I remembered. Veronica Chen sat 2 rows ahead of me, and I'd spent most of that semester staring at the back of her head instead of paying attention to Shakespeare. She was the girl I'd had a massive crush on, but never had the courage to talk to because she seemed so far beyond my reach. Her Instagram showed a life I could barely comprehend. Paris, Milan, magazine covers, 1.2 million followers. But her message continued. I always wondered what would have happened if I'd been braver back then. I had such a crush on you, but I thought you were out of my league. Isn't that ridiculous? I read it twice. Here I was sitting in a coffee shop with 47 photos proving my fiancé was cheating on me, while a woman who modeled for Vogue was telling me she'd been too intimidated to talk to me in high school. Out of my league. The irony was almost painful. Rick watched me read. You okay? Yeah, I said, just realizing how upside down my life actually is. That night, Qley came home from another networking event like nothing was wrong. How was your day? She asked, kissing my cheek. Enlightening, I said, because she had no idea how close her entire story was to collapsing. I didn't confront Qley that night, or the next day. Instead, I did something that felt completely foreign to me. I planned. For 3 years, I'd been reacting to whatever Qley threw at me. Her moods, her demands, her casual cruelty disguised as honesty. I'd spent so much time defending myself that I'd never considered going on offense. But Rick's photos changed everything. 47 pieces of unquestionable proof that my fiancé was exactly what I'd suspected, and worse than I'd imagined. I made copies of everything, organized the photos by date and time, created a timeline that showed the pattern of lies stretching back months. I even researched Riverside Gardens online. Turned out to be a pretty nice complex, the kind of place that would photograph well for Instagram if Qley ever decided to be honest about her relationship status. I scheduled a moving truck for Saturday, called the landlord about breaking the lease, transferred money out of our joint account and into my personal savings, just my half, nothing that belonged to her. I decided she needed to see exactly who was out of whose league. Friday evening, Qley came home from another brand meeting in an unusually good mood. She'd brought takeout from the expensive Thai place downtown and was talking about wedding venues again. I found this amazing location in the mountains, she said, showing me photos on her phone. It's a little more than we budgeted, but the views are incredible. My followers would absolutely lose their minds. Speaking of losing their minds, I said, I have something to show you. I opened my laptop and turned it toward her. The first photo filled the screen. Her car in the Riverside Gardens parking lot, time-stamped Tuesday, 2:47 p.m. Her face went through a fascinating sequence of expressions. Confusion first, like she was trying to place where the photo had been taken, then recognition, then something that looked almost like admiration. Did you hire someone to follow me? She asked. I hired a private investigator to document your activities, yes. I clicked through the photos methodically. Her walking to apartment 2, B. Cody answering the door. The two of them on his balcony. The kiss by his door. Her leaving in different clothes. 47 photos over 10 days, I said. Every Tuesday and Thursday. Same routine, same apartment, same lie about the gym. She went from denial to anger to panic in 30 seconds. Marcus, this isn't what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you've been sleeping with your personal trainer while telling me I should be grateful you settled for me. It's complicated. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The wedding. The expectations. I understand perfectly. You wanted to keep your backup plan while you tested the upgrade. That's when I mentioned Veronica. Funny thing happened while I was reviewing these photos, I said. I got a message from my high school crush, Veronica Chen. Maybe you've heard of her? Professional model, works with Vogue, over 1 million Instagram followers. Qley's expression shifted again. She said she'd always had a crush on me but thought I was out of her league. Imagine that. Someone who's actually successful thinking I was beyond her reach. I let that sink in for a moment. We've been talking all week. She's in town working on a campaign shoot. Asked if I wanted to get coffee this weekend. Marcus. The interesting thing about leagues, I said, closing the laptop, is that sometimes the person telling you you're not good enough is the one who doesn't deserve you. I told her someone actually out of her league wanted me. What happened next was predictable. Tears, apologies, promises to cut contact with Cody. Explanations about how she'd never meant for things to go so far. Claims that she loved me, that the wedding was still what she wanted, that this was just a mistake. I can change, she said. We can work through this. No, I said, we can't. I handed her the engagement ring I'd removed from my pocket earlier. $8,000 that could have gone toward a down payment on my own place. The moving truck comes tomorrow morning. I'll be gone by noon. She realized she had traded someone genuine for a temporary fling. Moving out was easier than I expected. Qley spent Saturday morning crying and making phone calls to her friends, probably trying to figure out damage control. I spent it loading boxes into a truck and feeling lighter with every trip. But I wasn't done yet. See, there's something about being publicly humiliated that makes you want to set the record straight. For months, Qley had been posting couple photos with captions about how blessed she was and how lucky we both were to have found each other. Her followers knew me as the devoted fiancé who was planning an amazing wedding for his gorgeous bride-to-be. They had no idea she had been telling me I was out of her league while cheating on me twice a week. I wanted everyone who believed her story to see the truth. And I knew something else, too. If I didn't move first, Qley would rewrite the narrative. She always did. In her world, nothing was ever her fault, just a misunderstanding that needed better lighting and a prettier caption. So I started planning my Instagram strategy. Nothing crazy or vindictive, just the truth, shared at exactly the right moment. I'd post a close friend's story, let it get screenshots, and shared naturally. Let people draw their own conclusions about who was really settling for whom. The key was timing, and I had a feeling the perfect moment was coming soon. Meanwhile, Veronica and I had been texting constantly since that first message. What started as catching up from high school turned into something I hadn't expected, actual compatibility. She was in town for 3 weeks working on a campaign for some luxury watch brand. Between shoots, we'd been meeting for coffee, dinner, walks around downtown. Normal stuff. The kind of dates where you talk for hours and lose track of time. It's so weird, she said over dinner Tuesday night. I spent high school thinking you were this mysterious genius who was way too smart for me. You probably don't remember, but I used to time my route to classes just to walk past your locker. Are you serious? Dead serious. I had such a crush on you, but you seemed so focused, so sure of yourself. I figured you'd never notice someone like me. Someone like her. A woman who'd built an international modeling career, who spoke 3 languages, who traveled to more countries than I could name. I was terrified to talk to you, I said. I thought you were completely out of my league. Isn't it funny how wrong we can be about ourselves? That was the difference. With Qley, every conversation was about proving my worth or defending my choices. With Veronica, we just talked about books, travel, work, family. She asked about my app development like it was genuinely interesting. I asked about her photography like her opinions mattered. For the first time, someone saw my worth without me having to perform for it. Thursday night, Veronica's campaign shoot wrapped early, and she suggested we celebrate. Nothing fancy, just drinks at a rooftop bar downtown with a view of the city lights. She'd changed out of her professional makeup into something more casual, but she still looked incredible. More importantly, she looked happy, relaxed, like she enjoyed spending time with me. I have a confession, she said as we watched the sunset. I've been following your Instagram for years, not in a creepy way, just curious about how your life turned out. Really? I saw the engagement announcement. She's beautiful. That ended this week. She raised an eyebrow. Really? The post made you guys look pretty happy. Social media isn't always real. No, it's not. We talked until the bar closed. She told me about the pressure of maintaining an image online, how exhausting it was to curate your life for strangers. I told her about feeling like I'd been performing for approval for years. You know what's nice about tonight? She said as we waited for our separate Ubers. I'm not performing. You're not performing. We're just us. She was right. This felt real in a way nothing had in years. Friday afternoon, I was scrolling Instagram when I saw Qley had posted a new photo. a selfie from what looked like Cody's apartment balcony. New perspectives. She was already making her choice public, moving on like our 3-year relationship had been a minor inconvenience. That was the risk. If I waited, her version would become the truth. That evening, Veronica and I went to dinner at a small Italian place she'd found through a photographer friend. Nothing Instagram-worthy, just good food and real conversation. But when she asked if we could take a photo together, I said yes. The picture was simple, both of us smiling, relaxed, happy. "We look good together," she said. We did, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was beneath anyone's league. Everything was about to come together at exactly the right moment. Saturday evening, I posted the photo. Nothing dramatic, just me and Veronica at the Italian restaurant, both of us genuinely smiling, with a simple caption, "Sometimes the right person was there all along." I posted it to my close friend's story first, about 40 people who knew me well enough to understand the context. Within an hour, it had been viewed by everyone on the list. Within 2 hours, it had 15,000 views. Apparently, screenshots travel fast when the story is good enough. The story got screenshot and shared beyond my close friends list. By Sunday morning, my phone was buzzing constantly. Messages, notifications, missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. But the most persistent notifications were from Qley, Instagram DMs, text messages from new numbers, even a Facebook message request from an account I'd never seen before. All variations of this same theme: "We need to talk, this isn't fair, you're making a mistake." She tried calling from at least 6 different numbers that I counted. When I didn't answer, she started reaching out through mutual friends. "Qley asked me to tell you she's sorry," my friend Jake texted. "She says she wants to explain." "Explanation received," I replied, 47 photos worth. That's when things got interesting. Jake texted back, "Dude, what photos?" So I sent him 3 of the clearest ones. Qley entering Cody's apartment, the timestamp showing 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when she'd told me she was at the gym. Her leaving in different clothes 2 hours later. "Holy shit," Jake replied. "She's been telling everyone you just freaked out over nothing, that you hired some investigator because you were jealous and controlling." She said I was controlling? "Yeah, man. Said you couldn't handle her having male friends and went crazy with paranoia." That was Qley's play. Reframe the narrative, make me the jealous boyfriend who overreacted to innocent friendships. Turn her cheating into my insecurity. She tried every manipulation tactic that used to work on me, but this time I had unquestionable proof. Monday morning, I woke up to find that Qley had gone nuclear on Instagram. She'd posted a long caption on a photo of herself looking sad and vulnerable, talking about toxic relationships and learning to value yourself and not letting anyone dim your light. The comments were split. Her close friends rallied with heart emojis and "you deserve better, queen" messages. But there were other comments too. People asking questions. People who'd seen the screenshots. "Wasn't she engaged like last week?" someone wrote. "I heard her ex hired a PI and found out she was cheating," another person replied. That's when Veronica did something I didn't expect. She commented directly on Qley's post. "It's interesting how people rewrite history when they get caught," Veronica wrote. "Some of us know what actually happened. Marcus is an amazing guy who deserved better than lies and manipulation. He's definitely not the problem in this situation." Coming from someone with 1.2 million followers, that comment got attention fast. Qley replied within minutes, "You don't know anything about our relationship. He's manipulative and controlling. Ask anyone." Veronica's response was perfect. "I don't need to ask anyone. I've seen the evidence." That comment got over 300 likes in the first hour. The public humiliation was complete, but Qley wasn't done. She started DMing me directly, then commenting on my posts when I didn't respond to the messages. "You're really going to destroy me over a mistake?" she wrote on one of my older photos. I replied publicly, "I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped covering for you." "People make mistakes, Marcus. I thought you were better than this." "You're right," I wrote back. "I am better than this. That's why I'm not doing it anymore." The exchange got screenshot and shared across multiple group chats. People were picking sides, and the evidence made it pretty clear which side had merit. Tuesday evening, Qley's harassment reached a peak. She showed up at my new apartment building. Somehow she'd found my address, and the doorman called me to say someone was asking for me. "Tell her I'm not available," I said, but she kept calling the building, kept trying different approaches. Finally, I had to be direct. I blocked her on every platform: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even LinkedIn. I texted our mutual friends and explained that I didn't want any messages passed along. I changed my phone number and only gave the new one to people who needed it. The harassment stopped. Wednesday morning, I got a message from Jake. Qley's been posting stories about moving on and focusing on herself. Looks like she's officially with the trainer now. Good for her, I replied. She got what she wanted. But the truth was, I felt something I hadn't expected. Relief. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even sadness. Just relief that the whole thing was over and I could finally stop performing for someone who never saw my value anyway. She realized everyone could see who was actually out of whose league. For the first time in years, I finally understood what it felt like to know your own worth. 6 months later, Veronica and I are still together. Not as some kind of revenge relationship or rebound situation, just together. The way people are when they actually like each other and don't have to keep score about who's luckier to be there. Her campaign work took off after that luxury watch shoot. She's been traveling between New York and LA for different projects, but we text constantly and FaceTime when the time zones work out. When she's in town, we do normal couple stuff. Dinner, movies, hiking, hanging out at my place watching Netflix without anyone checking their phone every 5 minutes. You know what's weird? She said last weekend while we were making breakfast. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, like you're going to suddenly become controlling or start needing constant validation. That sounds exhausting. It was. I dated a few guys who needed me to prove I was worth their time constantly, made me feel like my career was threatening to them. The difference is obvious. Veronica talks about her work like it matters, and I listen like it matters because it does. I talk about my app development, and she asks follow-up questions because she's actually interested. Neither of us is performing or trying to prove anything. She made me realize I'd never been average, just undervalued. As for Qley, her social media presence has gotten quieter over the past few months. Fewer posts, fewer followers, less of the confident energy she used to project. Last I heard through mutual friends, things with Cody didn't work out either. Apparently, when you build a relationship on lies and cheating, it doesn't have the strongest foundation. I don't follow her accounts anymore, but occasionally someone will mention seeing her at events or around town. She seems smaller somehow, less sure of herself. Like maybe losing someone who actually cared about her taught her something about what real value looks like. Or maybe not. Some people never learn. But I did. I learned that when someone keeps telling you you're out of their league, they're usually trying to convince themselves they're out of yours. Sometimes being out of someone's league works both ways.